Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Rejects for Christ YouTube channel. I'm Pastor Morgan, and if you haven't watched this before, I want to welcome you. This used to be called Time for a Change or Time to Change, and it was basically it's a time to change the way we view God, the way we view each other, the way we view Jesus, the way we view the Bible, and just a time to change that. I switched it over to Rejects for Christ because that's the actual name of my ministry. But uh, basically, it's still kind of that basic concept. In that I'm not really, it's pretty new still, and I'm not really sure which direction I'm going with this, but I do know that basically we're just going to talk. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Jesus. Well, a lot of it probably. We're going to talk about the scriptures. We're going to talk about different questions that I get from outside of this channel about the scriptures, about God in general, and just kind of try to work this through and see how we can gather the information to come to as many answers as we can possibly find, or close to possible, you know. But today I wanted to talk about. I know for sure that I'm going to do a series called The Parables, where we're kind of going to retell some of the more known parables. I'm sorry, that Jesus told, and kind of put them in how we can connect that with today. So that being said, however, sorry. That being said, today though I wanted to talk to you about the fact that Jesus was constantly saying in the New Testament about being like children. He tells one story. I have a couple of notes here. He tells one story where they said, "Hey, who gets the highest rank in heaven?" And he said there was a kid near him, and he said Jesus called the kid over and he stood him in the middle of the room, and he said, "I'm telling you once and for all that unless you start over like a child, then you're not even going to get a look at the kingdom, let alone get in. Whoever becomes simple and elemental again, high in God is who becomes high in God's kingdom. What's more, when you receive the childlike on my account, that is the same thing as receiving me." There's another one that says that Jesus was irate when they said the disciples, kids were coming, parents were bringing kids, like, "Hey, Jesus is here." So they were bringing their kids because they wanted him to touch him and just bless him, because they didn't know who he really was, but they knew enough. He had a following at this point, and they just knew that they wanted to be near him. So they brought these kids, and the disciples started shooing him away, like, "Come on now, he's busy, he's an important man, he's doing things." And it says that Jesus was irate, and he showed it, and he said, "Don't push these children away. Don't ever get between me and them. These children are at the very center of life in the kingdom. Mark this. Unless you accept God's kingdom in the simplicity of a child, you will never get in." Then gathering the children up in his arms, he laid hands on them and blessed them. So that's important to talk about, because when we talk about that, we all are like, okay, so then we need to be like children. And when I think a lot of times that gets processed into we need to be obedient, or we need to listen, instead of not just we need to be like children, but have you ever seen children interact without adult interference? And when something happens to one of the kids, there's this overwhelming sense of empathy and sympathy that comes. I watch Master Chef Junior, and every time I do, I'm reminded of why Be Like a Child keeps coming up, because they cry when other ones. Now this is a competition, and they understand that they're competing against each other. But when one of them leaves, everybody cries. You see people up in the back, and they're just tears, and they're hugging each other. And it's a reminder of not only accepting the scriptures and accepting the message of Jesus and of love and of God as simple as a child, just like that. You would not, you would be amazed at how many people find it when the bottom line keeps saying love, 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 and they want to complicate it because they can't simply just look at it and say, oh, I'm supposed to love. And just that simply follow that path. They want to add things to it because it's more, takes more faith to believe that it is just that simple than it does to believe that it is something that you can do with a list of rules or regulations. Another angle to that, however, and or to add on to that, is not only is God talking, is when Jesus is talking and he's saying something about being like children, he says be simple like them. He also says to accept them like that. So why are children who children are? Why we always say like children, why do they take things so simply? Why is it that they are that innocence? It's because they're exposed to less. Because even those of us that we consider some of the most violent in our society protect children and have a certain eye to take care of and shield children. So what if not only did we accept the teachings or accept the message childlike, but what if we treated each other like we do children? What if we went out of our way to protect each other from harm like we do for children? What if we went out of our way to shield each other from the ugliness just like we do children? If we did that with each and every one of us, where would we be? We would not only inherit, we would rule the kingdom of God. We would make the kingdom of God. We just like was promised in the Testaments, that it would be us. And here these messages are in this New Testament, with Jesus giving these amazing teachings and these amazing sermons that are basically maps. They're basically guidelines for exactly how to create the kingdom of God that we all want here. Love each other. Love each other beyond measure. Love each other beyond anything you can imagine. Love each other like I love you, and give my very life. Greater love hath no man than he laid down his life for a friend. In all of these, everything else on earth will pass away, but three shall remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. In all of your getting understanding and remembering all that the root command is love. So what if we took that as simply as a child? And not only with that, but what if we took particularly the one that says, greater love hath no man than he laid down his life, or his hatred, or his malice, or his anger, or his issues down for a friend? What if we looked at each other like these children and said, you know what, we're loving each other, we're shielding each other, we're protecting each other, like each one of us were precious children of an almighty creator? And if we did that, what would the world be? So in these analogies, I would say not to think about it not only as, or I would give you hopefully an inkling or an inclination to think about it not only as let's accept these things that we see or we hear, or this message simple and childlike, as in if Jesus says love, let's just love, but we also accept each other as children and do our best to give each and every one of us the innocence that we allow children by protecting and shielding and loving each other with our whole hearts. All right. I hope that gives you a little something to think about. Next time, I don't know what we're going to do on the next one. I think it's going to be the woman at the well. And we're going to talk about the traditional, what we consider traditional meaning. And then we're going to kind of flip it and see what else we can get from that parable. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Questions, comments, concerns, hit me up below. You can also come follow me on my Facebook group, All About Love, and or on my Rejects for Christ Facebook page. All right, YouTube. I love you.